So the New Testament has the same standard. And you know these verses, Romans 12, 1 and 2. In fact, we might as well look at them. As I've been learning this Share Jesus Without Fear, one of the neat things the author says is to get the people actually looking at the Bible and reading it instead of you always telling them what God says. So look down instead of me telling you what God says. Look at Romans 12, 1 and 2 and just let it go through your heart again. I urge you, therefore, brethren, he's talking to believers, by the mercies of God, which is all the past 11 chapters, to present, hey, there's a conscious choice and action, present your bodies a living and a holy sacrifice. Not the way you want to do it, but look what he says, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. You want to worship God? Give him your body and say, I want a grace-energized motivation for, as a young woman, how I look, and I want to have a grace-energized appearance, and I want to make that my act of worship to you, O God. And do not be conformed to this world, verse 2, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Change the way you think about how you get dressed, as Paul said. Have the attitude of modesty and of this humble attitude of coming before God. And then, when you have your mind renewed, you can prove, verse 2, what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect. Now keep going to the right to 2 Corinthians 6, because he says the same thing. 2 Corinthians 6. Paul was very pointed in his sanctification exhortations. 2 Corinthians 6:14. He says this, do not be bound together with unbelievers. 2 Corinthians 6, verse 14. For what partnership have righteousness and lawlessness? What fellowship has light with darkness? Verse 15. Or what harmony has Christ with Belial? Or what has a believer in common with an unbeliever? Verse 16. What agreement has the temple of God with idols? For we are the temple of the living God. Just as God said, I will dwell in them and walk among them. I will be their God. They will be my people. Verse 17. Therefore, come out from their midst and be separate, says the Lord. Don't touch what is unclean, and I will welcome you. And I'll be a father to you, and you'll be sons and daughters to me, says the Lord Almighty. And keep reading into the first verse, because the thought continues. Unfortunately, there's a big cut with the chapter 7. But verse 1, therefore, having these promises, beloved, what he just talked about, this, I'll be a God to you, and, you'll get my blessing. These promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all defilement of the flesh and spirit, and perfect holiness in the fear of God. That is a biblical description of what younger women are to be taught by older women to be chaste or to be pure. Make a choice to give yourself to purity. Our bodies are precious because they are a gift from God. They are attractive because God made us in his image for his pleasure. And if you're married, to please your mates as well. But God never intended us to flaunt ourselves or exhibit our bodies in an immodest way, as Romans 12, 1 and 2 and all the other verses I read say. Many Christians are either oblivious or uncaring about the effect they have on others. They may even appear to have a real excitement and love for the Lord. However, their body is sending out totally different messages. That's the confusion. And that's why Paul sent the godly older women out to get into the lives of the younger women. And for 2,000 years, God has been looking in each generation of Christ's church for a few good women who will give themselves to his plan for their lives. That plan has been laid out in Titus 2. Paul says, women, be chaste, be pure, conduct yourself like the holy servant of Christ that you are. Don't give in to your culture. Don't reflect the sexual license of the day. Stand for purity. Dress for purity. Keep your mind, your body, and your life pure for Christ's sake. And you can be a role model he will use in his church.